Despite the fact that Toyota Highlander is not supplied to Europe, its popularity is gaining momentum in our country. After all, it has been sold overseas for 7 years, which means that the market is full of offers. But few people know that this model is actually a Lexus RX in work clothes. If you saw an SUV without a pronounced design, the make and model of which you can't immediately determine, then 8 out of 10 that this is a Toyota Highlander. But few people know that this model is actually a Lexus RX in work clothes. Although Highlander was presented in official press releases as a crossover based on the Toyota Camry passenger model, this is not entirely true. It's just that Camry sells well in North America and such advertising was a kind of marketing ploy. By the way, a clone of the Highlander, called Kluger, was offered in the domestic Japanese market. First of all, Highlander compares favorably with the Lexus RX aggregate donor with a straight roof in the rear and a large trunk. Moreover, the trunk is so spacious that since 2003 versions with a third row of seats have appeared. True, such 7-seater specimens are rare. The equipment of a particular instance depends on the motor. With the weakest 4-cylinder engine, it is more modest, and with the V6 it is maximum. Before restyling in 2004, the interior was simpler, but in a sense more convenient. There was no separation console between the front seats, and it was possible to get into the back seat without leaving the car, which is important, for example, when traveling with children. In addition, it allowed you to exit through the passenger door, parked close to the wall. If the Highlander has inherited anything from the Toyota Camry, it's the aforementioned 2 petrol engines. 4-cylinder 2AZ FE 2.4L, 157 horsepower, and V-shaped 6.1MZ FE 3.0L, 220 horsepower. Since 2004, a new 3MZ FE 3.3-liter engine, 230 horsepower, has been added. And since 2005, a hybrid engine has been offered, which is not at all relevant for Russia. Motors are a potentially problematic place in a car. No, the engines themselves have no structural weaknesses. They are killed by the swine attitude of American owners. So the probability of running into a problem car is high. The reason for this is operation with a rare oil change, or even without replacement at all. For modern engines, this is critical. Checking if the oil has been changed or not is easy. It is necessary, without sparing your own finger, sorry, I don't know how to put it differently, to shove it deeper under the valve cover through the open oil filler neck. Why can't you just look? Yes, because many cunning sellers in the visibility zone under the lid wipe this layered soot in the form of shoe polish. The 2.4-liter engine has a very durable chain in the timing drive. In the 6s, the drive is carried out by a belt, the replacement frequency of which is 100,000 kilometers. At the second replacement, it is recommended to change the cooling system pump at the same time. V6 engines also have one feature unloved by servicemen. Replacing candles on the rear cylinders is difficult and costs about 3,000 rubles. Well, candles on our gasoline do not last long. Manual transmissions were not offered at all. As for the automatic machines, there are 2 of them. Both are simple, without manual modes, a 4-band and a 5-band one, which appeared since 2004 and was aggregated only with the V6. The reliability of the machines is very worthy, however, isolated cases of their breakdowns are known. Still, we must not forget that we are talking about used cars. It is not known in what mode they drove and were serviced. If this happens, then the repair will be quite expensive. Less than 60 to 70,000 rubles. Serious offices will not undertake to repair. The saddest thing is that it is impossible to predict how much the restored unit runs back. It is realistic to buy a new box assembly for 130 to 140,000 rubles. Expensive, of course, but certainly with a guarantee. Drive type, permanent full. The most correct scheme for a crossover with a center differential and a built-in V-sco clutch. The role of imitation of blocking of interwheel differentials is performed by the traction control system. It slows down the slipping wheel, and thus the moment is transferred to the tire with better grip. However, this is still a light all-wheel drive, and it will not work to crawl along the impassability, carefully hanging one or the other wheel. If it didn't work out the first time, then the second attempt, unless, of course, you get stuck right away, is possible only on the move. I must say that during our test, Highlander painlessly crawled over serious obstacles for most competitors. Of course, there is no downshift, because the Highlander is a pure crossover, although it looks quite courageous. In addition to all-wheel drive versions, front-wheel drive versions were also produced, equipped, as a rule, with a 2.4-liter engine. We can't comprehend the point of buying such a car, because they cost almost the same as copies with the drive for all four. And all their difference from cars lies in the ground clearance of 185 millimeters. According to the stories of the experts who advised us, they have seen the following picture more than once. A freshly bought Highlander arrives from maintenance. The car is driven onto a lift. The owner begins to look at it from below and suddenly asks nervously, "Where is the car, Dad?" When they explain to him that this is a front-wheel drive modification, he breaks into the car dealership where he bought the car, but here it is already unrealistic to do anything. It remains to console yourself that fuel consumption will be slightly less. The front and rear suspensions are independent, structurally the same as on the Lexus RX, but some details are different. The resource is high, that is, it is quite possible to drive 150,000 kilometers without investments. That's just the front shock absorbers cannot withstand so much. There are few parts in the suspension that can only be changed as an assembly. So maintaining the chassis in good condition in a car with a mileage of 200,000 kilometers is not very expensive. What you need to be prepared for is to replace the front brake discs due to the wobble when braking. This phenomenon is common, but not universal. Grooving discs is considered a temporary measure, although in some instances it is enough for a couple of tens of thousands of mileage. The owners also complain about the weak headlights, mediocre sound insulation, and the American Standard radio in 1.5 waves. The pitfalls that lie in wait when buying a Highlander lie exclusively in its past life. About past accidents, floods, hurricanes, and fires, which, as you know, the West is so rich in, will be told by Carfax and a careful examination of independent experts. Since the Highlander is similar to both the Camry and the Lexus RX, there are no questions about acquiring most of the parts. But body parts are bought only to order with a waiting time of a couple of weeks. The model has many advantages: low criminal popularity, reliability, spacious interior. For timely service and a reasonable mode of operation, this crossover will pay you with faithful service. And we have already talked about the main drawback, a surprisingly inexpressive appearance. However, is it really that bad?